Hello and welcome to day 2 of Pension Awareness Week 2021. And thank you very much for joining us today for our live at lunch session, which covers specifically the 2015 remedy. My name is Andrew Jones and I am the engagement manager for Civil Service Pensions from the Scheme Manager Cabinet Office. Those of you who are new to us, welcome, and those who are returning guests, thank you for joining us again. Just to give a little bit of background, Live at Lunch is a series of pension awareness events that we run. We started this at last year's Pension Awareness Week to great success, and we ran it again in, we was hoping in April, but we had to be delayed until May. And the aim is to provide you with specific information about the scheme and especially on a specific topic. Today's session will be broken down into two main parts. The first bit will be, as we have done previously, showcase a video that has been created specifically around the 2015 remedy and providing an update of where we are now. Followed up by the bit I really enjoy is the question and answer session. The great thing is, especially for you guys, is you will not just have to listen to me all day or all session. I have three wonderful colleagues who all work and are dedicated to the 2015 remedy programme, with my colleague Ian Corner, who is the Cabinet Office Head of Policy and Legislation for the 2015 remedy programme. We have Stella Humphries, who is the 2015 remedy programme stakeholder manager from the Cabinet Office. And we have Paul Harris, who is the 2015 remedy programme lead from the scheme administrator in my CSP. All the job titles are a bit of a mouthful, so hopefully I've got them correct. What we will try to do today is answer all of the questions that you have. What we will be concentrating on is the most upvoted questions. On the platform Glisser, you are able to upvote questions to get them more to the top, and those are the questions that we will be concentrating on. So just before you ask a question, just have a skim through there to see if your question has already been asked. So first things first, before we go into the video, I'm going to be a little bit cheeky and interject and ask a bit of a polling question, because we like to get a bit of feedback on where people are in their journey for especially the 2015 remedy at this moment in time. The first polling question I would like you to answer is, do you understand the 2015 remedy and, do you understand how the 2015 remedy will affect you? I'll just pause there for a second for you to be able to answer this. Okay, I think that's enough time to be able to have answered that. So without further ado, that's better. I'm not speaking French. Let's sit back, relax, and watch our video and get an update on the 2015 remedy.
Welcome to the 2015 remedy. This video is the second in a series of videos which are being created to keep you updated, informed, and supported throughout the remedy process. The first video can be found on the 2015 remedy section of the Civil Service Pensions website and provides great information on how 2015 remedy came about, who will be impacted, the decision to implement and underpin, and what to expect. As you can imagine, there are a lot of details we are working through, as well as developing plans and processes. To keep up to date, the 2015 remedy section on the Civil Service Pensions website is where you will find all the latest news, information, and FAQs. This is regularly reviewed and updated and should be your first point of call for information. We can see on the timeline that the next milestone is on the 31st of March 2022. If you are one of the few members who are currently still in Classic, Classic Plus, Premium or Nuvos, you will be moved to the Alpha scheme automatically on the 1st of April 2022. You do not need to do anything, and be reassured that the move to Alpha on the 1st of April 2022 has no impact on the pension you have built up already. The Alpha scheme pays you a pension based on a proportion of your pensionable earnings. It also has a high accrual rate. As well as providing you with a pension, the Alpha scheme also provides a number of benefits, such as the opportunity to exchange some of your pension for a tax-free lump sum, ill health benefits should you become too ill to work, a lump sum if you die in service, paid to whoever you have nominated, a pension for your spouse, civil partner or nominated partner in the event of death in service. Any dependent children can also receive a pension in the event of death in service. More information on the Alpha scheme can be found on the Civil Service Pensions website. The following information is for those impacted members who plan to retire after April 2022. By the 1st of October 2023, the underpin calculation will be introduced for those retiring from this date. This means you will be provided with two estimates as to whether you would like your benefits calculated in your legacy scheme or Alpha for the remedy period April 2015 to March 2022. Remember, more information on why the remedy period exists can be found in the first video. From 2024, annual benefit statements will provide your pension benefits under both the scenarios from the remedy period. The following information is for impacted members who have taken retirement benefits since April 2015. We will be reaching out to those impacted members who have already taken their benefits after the underpin is introduced. These include members who may have retired on ill health, partially retired, or members' families who have received death benefits. The 2015 Remedy Programme is there to make sure that you have the support, tools, information and guidance to help you make the right choice for you. We will be issuing regular updates via the website, as well as creating future videos. We will guide you every step of the way through the process, making sure you know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. You do not need to do anything, but if you wish to contact us, email contactcentre@mycsp.co.uk or phone 0300 123 6666.
Really hope you enjoyed watching that video and it's provided you with a good understanding of the 2015 remedy, the journey we've been on and where we currently are. I know there's a great bit in there which showcases a timeline of when the 2015 remedy started and where we're likely to be in the near future. Really good piece of information contained in there. Just before we get started on your questions, I can see questions that are flying through. I have one more polling question I hope you could answer for me. As I always say, feedback is a gift, good, bad or indifferent. So the question is, will you be looking for support and guidance in making your decision when asked to do so in relation to the 2015 remedy? And it's just a yes or no answer we're looking for today. Thanks again for taking the time to respond to this. As you may be aware, there may be some questions that we are maybe unable to answer due to legislation which is going through, but where we can answer, we will. If we can't, we will explain the reasons why, and they will be posted as soon as we know the direction of of which legislation is going and the rules of the new scheme will be going, we will be putting them on the scheme website. The scheme website will be and is the main port of call, or the first place to call for information in relation to the 2015 remedy. So just to get things going whilst questions are flying in, just to get the creative juices flowing for our panel today, I've got a couple of preset questions which we'll run through, and then we'll have plenty of time to go through all the questions that are being raised by you, our wonderful listeners. Stella, the first question, I am going to come to you. As always, ladies first. I am age 58 this year, and I didn't know about the McLeod effect for the 2015 remedy. So those of you may not know, the McLeod was one of the main cases in relation to the 2015 remedy. Will there be advice available to us to help us understand and make better decisions?
Thank you, Andy. Yes, we realise this is quite a complex subject for you all. So we're working hard, the 2015 Remedy Programme team are working hard behind the scenes, really, looking to put some support guidance materials together for you. So going forward, we hope to have an illustrator sometime in 2002, and this will have some basic information such as on benefits in a alpha and legacy scheme. And as we move into the end of 2023, we'll have a fully functioning modeler that we hope will appear on the portal. And here you'll be able to see the benefits that you'll be likely to get in your alpha scheme and the legacy scheme. As well as that, we realise that different members have different circumstances, such as added pension, or they might be protected members. So we will be putting bespoke videos together and communications and case studies. So if I can point you all to the Civil Service Pensions website, and that's the /2015 remedy, all that information, FAQs, it is on there as said in the video. Thanks, Andy.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stella. That's one of the things that we are very keen to do, is make the communications and the support tools available to you as easy as possible to, one, understand and easy to use. We are taking a very much a member-centric approach to this. Next question, I'm going to come to you, Paul, if that's okay. So one of the questions that often gets asked is, does this information, so does the 2015 remedy only apply to those who fell in the fully protected group, or does it, or conversely, does it not apply to those who are fully protected? People can be confused as to whether they're impacted or not.
Yeah, thanks, Andy, and good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so if we cast our mind back to 2015, there were broadly three outcomes for members. Members, and these were generally the oldest members of the scheme, could remain in their existing scheme when Alpha was introduced in 2015. There was a younger cohort of members, and those members were moved into Alpha on the 1st of April 2015. And there were a group of members that, due to their age, they had, and they kind of straddled the boundary between those two groups. And they could move into, and had a choice of whether they could move into Alpha on the 1st of April 2015 or at a later date, and that date was dependent on their age. So, and that was essentially the discrimination that was faced, and what this programme and the remedy, the 2015 remedy programme, is all about, is remediating that and correcting that discrimination. So, you know, in essence, and you know, I think you mentioned around the older cohort there that may still be or will still be in their legacy scheme, so Classic Plus, Premium, or Nuvos. For those members, come the 1st of April 22, they, like every other active member of the Civil Service Pension Scheme, will be in Alpha. So from the 1st of April 2022, all active members of the Civil Service Pension Scheme will be in the Alpha scheme.
Brilliant. Cheers, Paul. Thank you very much for that. Ian, I'm going to come to you for the next one. And this is around an individual who leaves before the remedy has been implemented. So what happens if I leave before pension age, or what if I leave before the remedy has been implemented and brought into legislation? Will I still be impacted by this?
Thanks, Andy. So the short answer is yes. So you will have built up a period of service between 2015 and 2022, or if you leave before that, up to when you leave, or if you leave after 22 but before the underpin is implemented, that will be your period of service as well. So from the remedy point of view, you still will be affected, and you'll be considered as if you hadn't left, in the sense of, if you built up, for example, 2015 to 2021, that will be your remedy period, and then you'll get your choice when the underpin is implemented.
Brilliant, thank you, Ian. One follow-up question: can you explain what the deferred choice underpin actually means? What does it mean to members?
Certainly, Andy. So I think it's just worth saying this. For the deferred choice underpin, there's really two types of members. There's members who will still be active when the deferred choice underpin starts, and they will therefore get their choice on retirement. So they'll be given a choice of alpha or legacy benefits for the period 2015 to 2022. For members who have already retired by this point, or beneficiaries of deceased members, they will be given the same choice, but clearly, because they say already retired, this will happen after, so there will be an adjustment to their benefits if they decide to take a different option. But all that will be communicated to members, and it'll be very clear what the different options are and what the different elements of those options are.
Thank you, Ian. That explains it a little bit, well, a lot more clear than what it is from, because who knows what a deferred choice underpin means until we break it down. Stella, over to you. One good question here. When we are asked to decide under the remedy, will we be given an example of the calculation figures to assist us in our decision? So basically, what will be provided to members to enable them to make that decision? What are we working on when those decisions are due to be made?
Thanks, Andy. Well, firstly, we will be introducing the ABS statements, the annual benefit statements. And from the 31st of August 2004, this will show both the benefits from that remedy period, which is the 1st of April 2015 to the 31st of March 2022. You will see the legacy benefits and the benefits in alpha. So firstly, that you'll have that statement ready, showing on your ABS, so you can have a look there. Most importantly, I want to point out, as I said, this is a real complex complex area, and we are here to guide you every step of the way. We will let you know when you need to make that decision. And I think to help you with this decision, we would be pointing you towards the modeler that will be on the portal, which again will have your benefits under the legacy scheme and your alpha scheme. So that's something there that you can have a look at your figures on. We will also be commissioning various bespoke videos as well, really, to tailor to your personal circumstances, as I mentioned before. So I really want to point out that you're certainly not on your own making these choices, that there will be information, case studies, a series of videos to really help you make that decision when you see those, either those figures when you retire, or those figures when you see your annual benefit statement. So yeah, to point out you're not on your own, we will guide you every step of the way. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much, Stella. Just before we go to the live questions that have been flying through, I have one more question to set to Paul, which is going to be, when will we be given the choice regarding the McLeod or the 2015 remedy? So when are we expecting to give people those choices? Will it be straight away? I know Ian previously described, that we will be, but when members leave, that's when they will get the options how they want that remedy service to be treated. But when are we expecting that to be live and being provided to members?
Yeah, thank you, Andy. So as per the video, so we're expecting the legislation to allow us to implement this deferred choice underpin and essentially the remedy in October 2023. So at this point, two things happen, and Ian sort of touched on it before, in that if you are currently an active member and you choose to retire or even take partial retirement, if you're trying to take some benefits, at that point after that, the DCU has been implemented, you will be given the choice at retirement. You know, so when you get your statement and that will say, this is what your benefits look like, essentially your retirement quote. It will include the effect of the remedy, so you'll get to make a choice. So the important thing to note with that is you get to make the choice with the benefit of hindsight, because it will give you both options and you'll have all the facts available to you to make that decision. Now, for the other members, for the members that have already taken benefits, either full retirement or partial retirement, then, as said earlier, then it will be a retrospective exercise because those benefits are currently in payment. Now that will start at the same point in time. That will start in October 23. Now we expect that will run for probably at least a year, because there is quite a lot of members and a lot of there's sort of members to put right. So it will both things, almost like the firing gun, starts October 23. So that is when we will be giving those information through to members. But again, if you've already taken your benefits, you will be given the choice as to, it's your choice to make which are the best benefits for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Right, let's jump to the questions from you guys, which have been flying in. Like I say, please upvote where you can, and hopefully we can get through as many of your great questions as you have posed. First question, I'm going to come to your good self, Ian, and it's around the contributions that have been paid towards Alpha. And it's, my pension contributions increased when we moved into Alpha. If we opt back into Classic for the intervening years, do we get those extra contributions back, as we would not have paid if we had chosen to remain in Classic?
Thanks, Andy. So from 2015, contributions were equalised across all schemes. Now, there's a few small groups of members for whom this wasn't quite correct. So there were slight differentials in contributions, but for the vast majority of members, you will have paid the same in contributions in Alpha that you would have in Classic. If a member has overpaid contributions by moving into Alpha and they choose Classic as part of the deferred choice underpin, then there would be a payment back by the scheme to that member. But it's something, again, we will be communicating to individual members when the deferred choice underpin starts running.
One more question, if I may. It's a very popular question in relation to the contributions that I paid. I'm just trying to pause my screen, but my screen just keeps jumping around. Give me 1 second. And it's basically in relation to the cost cap that was introduced. And if members are going to see a refund of the contributions they made because of the cost cap, which was being worked on prior to the 2015 remedy launching.
Thanks, Andy. So it's going to be quite a long answer, this, but just to provide some detail for people who are perhaps less aware of the cost cap. So when the cost cap was introduced following the introduction of Alpha, what the cost cap did broadly is say if the scheme got too expensive by certain measures, members would either see a reduction in their future benefits or an increase in contributions. Conversely, if the scheme got too cheap by certain measures, members would get reduced contributions or an increase in benefits. Because of the McLeod case and the 2015 remedy, the work on calculating the cost cap numbers were paused for a time. We're still expecting the cost cap final results in a few months. Now, if those cost cap final results show a breach downwards, so if the scheme has become too cheap by these measures, the scheme advisory board, the minister and others will work together to work out how best to close that breach. So that may be a cut in contributions for members, it may be an improvement in benefits, it may be a mixture of the two. What we can't say at this point, because we don't know, is whether there is a breach, and we can't promise anything in terms of whether contributions would be cut or benefits would be increased. So again, that will, we'll communicate that to members once we know.
Thanks, Ian. Apologies for picking on you twice there. Stella, I'm going to come to you for the next question, if that's okay. My question is, will I get 2 statements to show how much we would get if we had stayed in Classic for the additional 7 years, so between 2015 and 2022? Or how much we will get if we had remained in Alpha? How do we know which is more beneficial to us without this? Will guidance be provided to us?
Thanks, Andy. So at the moment, we're not in a position to provide individual member illustrations as yet until after the introduction of the deferred choice underpin, which will be October 2023. We won't be providing 2 ABS statements. What will happen is from August 31st, 2024, your ABS statement will show 2 figures for that remedy period. If you had stayed in your legacy scheme, or if you were obviously, or if you were in the Alpha scheme. So that would be provided 2024. So we realise that this is a huge decision for you to make. And as mentioned, at the moment on the portal, you'll see a retirement modeler. We will be having a 2015 remedy modeler on there, and that will help you make your decisions. You will see the Alpha benefits and the legacy scheme benefits. As well as that, we're putting together a lot of support materials and tools really for you to make an informed choice. And as I mentioned, we will have videos, we will have FAQs, we will have case studies, we will have personas, people exactly like yourselves in that situation, and perhaps what should I do for the best. So this is something we're working on very much so behind the scenes, and various focus groups and member forums. So please don't feel that you're on your own. We realise that this is quite a complex situation and topic, but we will be providing that support and letting you know when you need to make the choice as well. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much, Stella. Really appreciate that answer. Paul, I'm just going to come to you for this question. Can I check, does this mean the 2015 remedy has no relevance to people who joined the civil service in June 2014 or after? Well, I think it's anyone who joined after, really, it's probably 2012. I think this individual must have joined around 2014. But if it's anyone who joined in between the, especially 2012, when the check was made about who would move where. So if anyone joined in between that time and after the introduction of Alpha, would people still be impacted?
Yeah, thank you, Andy. So there's 2 broad criteria that need to be met. The straight answer to the question is possibly. And so the 2 criteria that need to be met are that you needed to be in active service in a public service pension scheme on the 31st of March 2012. Now, I emphasise the public service pension scheme at that point for a reason. So you don't have to be in, you don't have to have been in the civil service pension scheme. So if you were, say, employed by the NHS, teachers, and in their schemes, LGPS, the local government pension scheme, on that date, then that's sort of, your qualifying position, point 1 ticked. And then the second criteria is to having active service in what's known as the remedy period, and that is from the 1st of April 2015 to the 31st of March 22. And again, it's active service in a public sector pension scheme, not just a civil service pension scheme. Now there are, you are allowed, it doesn't have to be continuous. You are allowed to have a qualifying break, and that's something that is normally less than 5 years. So, if you've got, if you've joined in 2014 and you've got, so if this member joined in 2014 and that was the first time they've ever done any public service and been a member of a public service pension scheme, then no, they would not be impacted. But if they joined in 2014 and they had previously, so on that 31st of March 2012 date, been in, for example, the local government pension scheme, then yes, they would qualify for McLeod.
Thank you very much, Paul. I finally got my screen to be able to pause and view the, there's one question which has got 298 likes, which I've been trying to be able to read the last couple of minutes. And I think it's already been briefly covered by Stella, but given the amount of people that have requested, and it's basically saying, is it possible to get illustrations of what the different options mean for an individual? Pensions illustrations are available on the pension portal, but does not show what the different options mean. So I think I'm going to just cover this one if that's okay. So at this moment in time, the pensions portal has a retirement modeler there, which provides you with an estimate of your pension benefits up until you retire based on your current circumstances. The one thing that we are very keen on doing and are working on is a modeler or illustrator to be able or enable our members, i.e. you, to be able to effectively plan for your retirement. It is one of the main things that we want this to do, is so you can actually effectively plan for your retirement, so you can see under either scenario what your pension would be, and basically say, right, this is the lifestyle that I will be able to have with this. And that is very much the driver for the modeler, is basically be enhanced to showcase the benefits under both scenarios for the remedy period of service. Really hope that clarifies that point, that we are working on things. It's just because of legislation going through. I know it sounds like a bit of an excuse that we're using, but we're waiting for the legislation to go through, and then we are able to determine and work through what tools are needed, things like that. I hope that helps. I'm going to come to you, Ian, for this next one, if that's okay. Been liked a few times, and it's grateful if you or colleagues could comment on how the McLeod impacts on civil service pension scheme's ability to offer a CETV for divorce purposes.
Thanks, Andy. So one of the things we've been working on with Treasury quite a lot in the background is transfers out and also how to deal with divorce. What I can't tell you yet is our settled policy, because we're still debating what that will look like, but there will be a remedy impact on CETVs and how they interact with upcoming divorces that have already happened, any awards by courts and so forth. So again, once we know that, we'll communicate that to members.
Thank you, Ian. Really appreciate that. I hope that helps to the individual who asked that question and the people who voted it up. One more question that I want to stick with you again, Ian, if that's okay, and it's around added pension and EPA. We have a number of members who have opened up a added pension contract whilst they've been in Alpha, or they may have set up an added years contract pre-2008, things like that, and it's ongoing. Do we know yet how those members will be impacted?
Thank you, Andy. So it's probably worth just again reminding everyone, so currently we've got two types of active members. We've got members who have moved into Alpha at this point and members who stayed in PCSPS. So Anybody who took out an added years contract in Alpha during the remedy period, once the legislation goes through, that added pension contract in Alpha will be converted back into an added pension contract for PCSPS, say Classic, Classic Plus, and so forth, for the remedy period for 2015 to 2022. And anybody who took out an added pension contract for the remedy period who stayed in the legacy schemes will just see that stay as is. What we're still working on with Treasury is what added pension will look like post 1st of April 2022, and how that will impact members who took out these contracts before then in PCSPS in the legacy scheme. So again, we'll communicate that to members, especially those who are moving from the legacy schemes to Alpha in April 2022 when we know. But you don't need to do anything now.
Brilliant, thank you, Ian. I know I'm very keen for members to be what we call boosting, or refer to as boosting, their pension. So it's good to know how that is being looked at and how members will be affected. No, really appreciate that answer. Thank you. Here's a really good question that's been asked actually, and I want to come to you, Stella, if that's okay. And it's around the timeline for the remedy. And I can see where people have come to with this. Does the remedy continue until a person retires, or is it only for a limited amount of time that they would be able to make a choice, things like that? Is it basically until they leave, or do they need to make that choice sooner rather than later?
Thanks, Andy, for that one. First of all, no, there's no rush. Deferred choice underpin, as Ian mentioned before, it's the choice when you retire. So basically, no, there's no period, there's no rush. Once you retire, you will receive your retirement statement and see benefits for the legacy period for your legacy scheme or the single scheme, which is Alpha. So no, there's no rush. Again, as mentioned, we will guide you in this. We're just stepping up all the communications. We'll be going forward, hopefully towards the end of this month, issuing member newsletters on a monthly basis. So suddenly you'll see more and more about this. We regularly update the FAQs on the website. So please kind of make sure that, yeah, that is your first kind of port of call to go on this website, because there will be FAQs. We're constantly updating them as well. And certainly I get kind of many member inquiries and concerns in, and once I get those, I'll update the FAQs, because I realise that's something that you all could be thinking about. So no, there's no rush. The deferred choice underpin is basically, it's a choice you will make when you retire. But if I signpost you to the Civil Service Pensions website, 2015 remedy, there's a wealth of information. There's even information and links to the consultation response, fabulous timelines and flow charts of, am I affected, am I not? So yeah, if I can signpost you there going forward, that they should answer all your questions. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much, Stella. Paul, over to you for this next one. I am partially retired since 2014. Does the remedy period affect me? I really wish I'd be able to partially retire. Massive fan of partial retirement. So yes, does partially retire? If an individual is already partially retired, are they impacted by the remedy?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And it is a good question, and I think more people are kind of going down the partial retirement. So yes is the short answer. I think there's, you know, in essence, it's almost like a double bubble type scenario, in that you know, if you retired in 2014 or partially retired in 2014, then that period of services is outside of the remedy period. So, you know, it would not be impacted, but obviously you are still active through that remedy period. And so that period, that you know, if you're still contributing into the scheme now, that would be due for, that would be, you know, assuming that you pass the, you know, the qualifying date as outlined before, then that would be remedied, you know, as you come to fully retire. Now, if someone actually partially retired after the 1st of April 2015, so a little bit later, so retired sometime, you know, before the deferred choice underpin is implemented in 23, then you've got a situation where, you know, that's the double bubble situation where actually the partial retirement is something that would have happened in the past, and we will need to sort of go back and put that right. But also when then you come to fully retire, then we will put that bit right at that point in time as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate that. Ian, I want to come to you for this one, if that's okay. And it's been voted a number of times, and it's basically, why is it taking so long to amend our pension benefit statements to correctly show us on the classic scheme or an individual's legacy scheme? The excuse that it is complicated is wearing very thin when we need to be making decisions about our lives and future now.
So it is complicated, and I understand that's frustrating, but there is also the legislative angle. So it's a very quite convoluted legislative process in order to actually do this. So currently, if we wanted to do this tomorrow, we are legally not able to, because currently our pension rules, which are based on law, say you can only be a member of X scheme or Y scheme. We don't have the legislation yet to make these differences. So what we need to do is, first, Treasury need to pass their public sector wide bill, which is dealing with the 2015 remedy. We then have to make our own specific scheme legislation that allows us to do this. And then we also need HMRC to make some changes in a future finance bill to allow us to deal with some of the tax elements. Only then, when we've got all these different bits of legislation in place, can we produce an accurate benefit statement for these members affected by remedy, saying this is your position in classic, this is your position in alpha. So we just can't do it at the moment. So I apologise for the length of time it's taking, but we can't do it any quicker.
Thank you very much, Ian. I really hope that's helped understand what the steps we have to go through to basically enable us to provide you with the information that you our members want and need. It is something that we do talk to Treasury all the time about, or the guys talk to remedy the Treasury team about, to try and get things through as quickly as we possibly can. But everyone knows legislation can take time. So really hope that helps understand what we need to go through to get it through. Stella, I want to come to you for the next question, if that's okay. And when will the judgment, or do we know when the judgment will be implemented and the choices of which option to take will be available? If not known yet, when do we expect to know?
Thanks, Andy. As Ian mentioned, there's a lot of complex legislative changes and operational processes that we're going through at the moment, and sometimes we're a little bit limited onto the communications that we can share with you at the moment. From October 2023, any new retirement applications for active members, those applications will be given a choice of the benefits. So there will be the benefits in the legacy scheme and the alpha scheme. So really that's the kind of a major one on the timeline, October 2023, for active members, new retirement applications. Around this time, as I mentioned, that we will have the illustrator and a modeler, again, to help you look on making the right choice for your specific circumstances. And as we move on to August 2024, this is when you'll see your annual benefit statement, and you will have figures for both scenarios for the 2015 remedy period. So again, yeah, keep your eye out on the Civil Service Pensions website. And we're a little bit limited with this information at the moment, but yeah, they're key dates at the moment. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much, Stella. Paul, over to you for the next question, if that's okay. And it's, if I want to retire next year at age 54 and after 29 years of unbroken service, will I be able to take my Pensioners Classic for all of my service, and when will it be paid after I leave? I think this is probably broken down into two questions. If an individual is moved into Alpha already, how would they be treated if they retired before the implementation of the remedy came in? Or and the second part of the question would be, if I have not moved into Alpha yet and I retire sometime after the implementation of the single scheme, how would I be treated? Are you all right to answer that question?
Yeah, thank you, Andy. So I think before October 23, if you retire, take any benefits, you will be retiring on the scheme membership that you have built up to that point in time. So if you if you are currently in Alpha and you moved into Alpha in 2015, for example, your benefits will be calculated on your classic service up until 2015 and your Alpha service from 2015 onwards to the point that you actually retire. Then, so if this is happening next year, sometime in 2022, then there's a little bit of a wait, for this particular scenario, for this particular member, until we can, essentially go back, and the legislation allows us to go back and offer you what the alternative arrangements would have been. So, as said previously, that will start in October 2023. So that's what will happen. I think, and this is probably linked to an earlier question, there's almost an assumption that benefits will be better in the previous and legacy schemes, and that is certainly not the case for every single member. It is very dependent on personal circumstances. So actually, when you come to when we come to remediate, and this was one of the key aspects of and the outcome of the discrimination and the response to it, was to give members the choice of which they prefer. So rather than essentially saying everyone must go back into the pre-2015 schemes, there was a recognition that actually Alpha might work better for some members, and therefore that is why there is a choice to be made, and that's why we are working in order to provide that choice to you. But that's how that's the timeline that this member would face.
Thank you very much, Paul. Ian, I'm going to come to you for the next question. We've had a couple of questions surrounding tax and how members may be impacted if they move from Classic into Alpha or Alpha into Classic. Do we know where we are with the tax legislation, especially those individuals who may be impacted by the lifetime allowance or the annual allowance in relation to the pension?
Thanks, Andy. So we are still working with HMRC around the tax legislation. I mentioned the expected finance bill earlier, which should be next year, which will deal with a lot of these tax questions. What will happen is that from a member point of view, you will see what your tax liability looks like under both schemes. There is still a bit of a debate about how far that tax calculation goes back, but broadly you will see what your tax liability looks like and whether there's any additional tax to be paid or whether there's any additional refunds due, and that will all be communicated to you. Again, because we're still quite an early stage, it's difficult to say a bit much more than that.
Thank you very much, Ian. Tax is a very complicated thing, so it will be good when we know the way forward with that, especially for those members who may be impacted, to understand their position. Ian, apologies, I want to stick with you for the next question. If we have someone who's in one of the, or was previously in one of the final salary schemes, could you explain what the final salary link means and how that would impact those who then move into Alpha?
Sure. So the way the final salary link works for members moving into Alpha is when you come to retire, your final salary link remains. So what this means for you is, let's say for argument's sake, you move from Classic to Alpha in 2022, and then you decide to retire in 2026. Your final salary will be calculated on your sort of 2025-26 salary rather than your 2022 salary. So it's designed to provide sort of additional money for members to avoid them being hit by the fact they've been moved into Alpha earlier. So what it says is really your link to your final salary in terms of the calculation of your pension for your Classic period remains until you retire, rather than when you were moved from Classic to Alpha.
Thank you very much, Ian. I hope that helps the individuals. I've seen that question come up a few times. Really hope that helps the individual understand how the final salary link works. One of the things I just want to pick up, I'll go through this myself, is people have been trying to jump on the portal. The portal is a piece of IT that is available to all members of the Civil Service Pension Scheme. If you are unable to access it, please look on the website, and there is details of what you need to do if you are unable to access. You do need a little bit of information if you've not registered, which is can be found on any old annual benefit statement. If you don't have access to the annual benefit statement or an old one, please contact MyCSP and they can provide you with the details that you need. Again, if you go on the scheme website, the MyCSP contact details are there, and there's a step-by-step guide. And there's also a video as well to take you through the process for registering for the portal. Paul, next question for your good self. I'm just conscious of time. You mentioned it before. I just want to reiterate is around individuals who may not initially think that they will be impacted by Alpha, who may have not been in the civil service until post 2015, but may have been in a public sector scheme. So this individual was in an LGPS scheme and then moved into the civil service, but conversely, as I think we mentioned before, they could have been in NHS, police, things like that, or of course the army. Would they be impacted by the 2015 remedy? Not necessarily through the civil service, but from another scheme.
Yes, so exactly that. So if you were in a public sector scheme, not just a civil service pension scheme, and you met those qualifying dates, then yes, you would be impacted by the 2015 remedy.
Thank you, Paul. I was actually hoping that answer was going to take a little bit longer. I jest. Just last couple of questions before our time runs out. I think I'll answer this one. And it's around individuals' early retirement age, or what we call an early retirement age. The scheme has a normal retirement age for Classic and Premium is age 60. With Alpha, it mirrors your state pension age. But there is a thing called a minimum retirement age. For the vast majority of our members, it'll be age 55. And that is when, if an individual has joined after the 6th of April 2006, means that their minimum pension age is age 55. However, we do have a large cohort of individuals, and I fall into this bracket, who joined before the 6th of April 2006, who have an element of their pension in either Classic or Premium, and they would have a minimum retirement age of 50 for that element of their pension. All Alpha pension benefits have a minimum retirement age of 55, but the final salary, especially for those who have Classic elements and those who have a portion of Premium elements, would have a minimum retirement age of 50. I really hope that helps. I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up. Let's see which one to choose, which one is the most highly voted, and is this one. Ian, I would like to come to you for this one, if that is okay. I joined in 83, so had 32 years frozen before being moved into Alpha. Will I be able to put back the 6 to 7 years Alpha into Classic, giving me 39 years? What happens to the 1 year to give me the magic 40?
So you've built up your amount in Classic and then you were moved to Alpha. So when you come to retire, you're assuming you retire after the deferred choice underpin comes in October 23. You'll get your choice then of whether to have your benefits you built up for 2015 to 2022 in Alpha or Classic. So from your point of view, if you wanted to go back into Classic, is when you would pick those benefits to be in Classic. You may actually find you prefer to be in Alpha, but that's when you'll have your choice. If you do retire before the introduction of the underpin, then like with other retired members, we'll write to you and you'll still get the same choice. So you will get a choice for the post 2015 to 2022 period of Alpha or Classic.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ian. Really appreciate that. And that is all the time we have for today. Thank you all so much for the questions you have raised. We will be collating all of the questions that have been answered. Apologies to those who we have not been able to answer. What we will be doing is having a look through the questions that have been raised to see if we can incorporate them into any of the future communications, FAQs and things like that that we put on our scheme website. And yeah, so thank you very much. There were a couple of things I just want to mention just for people to take away. First one is website. Please visit the website as you can. All of our communications will go via the website initially to basically make people aware of the things as soon as we possibly can do. So please visit it. There are dedicated pages in relation to the 2015 remedy, which are being updated to provide people or our members with the current position. And another thing to take away is if you do leave or retire before the remedy work has started, so the options being provided, things like that, you will still be given the option. Even if you have left, you'll be given a deferred choice. So if you do retire before the 2015 remedy comes into play and is next and all the remedy options are given, you will be given a deferred choice. That is a guarantee. You will get given that choice if you are impacted. Just on the 2 polls that I cheekily threw in, I just want to provide you with the results. Is for the first question, which was, do you understand how the 2015 remedy will affect you? Strong understanding, 5%, with a 56% saying a slight understanding and 39% saying no, not at all. Thank you very much. And the second question was, will you be looking for support and guidance in making your decision? Very strong yes, with 93% and 7% of those individuals saying no. Thank you very much for today, guys. We will be issuing a post-event survey, basically say how today's event has run. Feedback is a gift. I've mentioned this before. Good, bad, or indifferent is what we do with it that counts. So please take your time to complete this when the email comes through. I think it should be out this afternoon. This session has been recorded, so if you have missed anything, you will be able to watch it on catch up in the next couple of weeks. Communications will go out when those go live as well. Thank you very much for your time today. If you've not been having anything to eat during the session, you please go and get something now, because God knows I'm really hungry. So without further ado, I do and keep saying it in a French accent for some reason. So without further delay, that's probably better. Thank you very much for your time today. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and take care.